This idea of rape and incest, certainly I'm opposed to abortion in any case, because I have to go back to, is it a human being or not?
Yep.
And the circumstances of that, a rape and incest, are certainly hellish. Like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, and it is hard if you say, like, well, what if it were your daughter? What if it were, someone in your family? And, man, that's a heavy thing to carry. But coming back to the victims of rape and incest, I want to appeal, I guess, just for a moment. Like, if you're somebody who, you would say, I'm pro-life, but I'm going to vote yes on Prop 3 because I don't like the idea of no exceptions. And I want to appeal to you that what you're doing is really ludicrous, if that's you. To say, because I think there should be these exceptions, I'm going to enshrine in the Constitution of the state that anybody can kill their children for any reason at any time in the womb, even though I'm pro-life. And
yeah, so I just read, I think this morning, last year there were about 30,000 abortions in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so 30,000 abortions last year.
Let's say 10%, which is probably
astronomically high.
Yeah, it's inflated for sure, but just to cover our bases, let's say 10% of that was because of rape.
Okay.
So 3,000. Right?
So 3,000 of 30,000, if we're just, again, trying to reason together, those 3,000, which is extremely extraordinary high, were caused by rape.
Right. So then we're going to say, for the sake of those 3,000 women to be able to escape that, some of that trauma anyways, there's still going to be trauma to deal with, but in order for those 3,000, we're going to say the other 27,000, okay.
Right, we're going to go on record and say we are in favor of killing the 27,000.
For the sake
we think
of the
women
3,000.
should have the right to kill those 27,000 children just because we have an issue with the rape and incest exception.
Right, even if you really like rape and incest, if that's the thing, and you 100% believe that abortion should be allowed in those cases, like voting no on Proposition 3 does not mean you are against that.
Yeah, and I would say voting yes on Proposition 3 is ludicrous and insane. Like, you wouldn't apply that to any other situation where you say, like, yeah, I'm okay with people killing 27,000 children because I think these other 3,000 children, like, should be allowed to be killed. That's insane. And I want to say, like, this is just reality. I think that blood is on your hands. You vote yes on this, like, you need to deal with that in your conscience. And I don't think that's not justifiable in any stretch of the imagination to take that course of action. And the reality here is, if you're voting yes on Prop 3, right, that you are going on record, right, apparently you know when life begins, you have no question about that, right, because, again, there are already laws that talk about that. If you don't know when life begins, which science tells us when the best science we have, if you're going to trust the science, says that this is an individual, distinct human being. And if you don't know when it begins, and you're still going to fire into those bushes. I mean, I went through hunter safety here in Michigan. That's one thing they tell you. You don't fire a gun into the bushes unless you know for sure.
Is that a deer or a person? I don't know. It's probably a deer, so I'm going to shoot. And that's a person. That you're definitely liable for that. Like, that's huge. That's negligence. That's recklessness.
Exactly. And the illustration of just blowing up a building. If you're demolishing a building, let's say there's 100 rooms in there, and you're in a hurry. You skip the last room, and somebody says, like, well, was anybody in that building? Like, I'm 99% sure there's nobody in there. Like, you can't operate when life is concerned under those situations. And that's not even at all a reflection when you give people the right to end the life of the child that's been conceived in their womb, anytime, anywhere. That's what this does. Anytime, really, for any reason that you can claim to be the mental health. I mean, it's a blanket covering for these reproductive rights. If you vote yes on this proposition, you are, right, enshrining into law something that is insane. And I think if you think about it, you really aren't in favor of all of that. And so vote no. Right? If you really want some of these other things or these exceptions for rape and incest, if you think that should be allowed, then pursue another course. Don't kill 27,000 innocent people because you get sucked into this thing and you don't take time to think about it. And this is passionate. I'm certainly passionate about it. I had somebody in my family who's dealt with abortion, who's been on the active end of that and dealt with years and decades of the guilt and the mental impact that you won't hear about often. And my prayer and my hope is that you'll vote no, certainly on Prop 3. But certainly if you're a middle ground person who just the rape and incest thing is what gets you because you can't imagine that or think that you can't force somebody into that situation to have to live with that, that is a horrific thing. People live with trauma all the time. They're left with children with perhaps a mental handicap or something, like a drunk driver, an incident, and things like that. Like this world is I mean, it's hellish, the stuff that people have to go through, the suffering and things. But the answer is not to kill innocent life.
Right.
And, certainly we have a hope that even in the most horrific things, that there's a promise of heaven. There's a hope as Christians that God is coming to make all things new. And so that, certainly helps us persevere through some of this stuff. But again, my prayer is that you would just think and really examine. Don't be sucked into the rhetoric and all of the obfuscation and all of the fear-mongering about political interference. And it's just, I could just keep repeating myself, but I just certainly hope that, I want to do something. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a kind of a drop in the bucket in terms of our state record. Please consider these things. Please apply common sense. Please don't get sucked into this rhetoric. And may God help us all.